All right, Sampson, sit. Good boy. Stay. All right, and maybe I don't want him in my lap, but I'm going to let him in my lap. Come. Good boy. Good job. All right, so now he's in my lap. Now I'll talk about some things to do when your dog is being a little bit stubborn. The first thing you need to evaluate with your pup, if he's starting to show, if he's being a little bit rebellious or trying to ignore you, just completely pretending like you're not there, which they will do sometimes. The first thing you need to think about is how much have you been doing with him today? A 16-week-old puppy like Sampson, this week he's been able to do a lot more than at week 15. So you need to evaluate your pup, and you'll get to know what they can tolerate. When I got Sampson, when he was 10 weeks old, roughly, he could only take maybe a few minutes, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes of teaching, just trying to get him to learn how to sit or something like that, or practicing that. And that's all I would do with him for the entire day. And today I've gone through everything in his routine and even videoed a lot of it to try to share it and save for future so I can recall things that I've used. And so you first need to evaluate if they're just tired. And you'll see that they look frustrated and that they're looking like they're just getting irritated or just wanting to walk away. If you've been doing a lot, you should probably give them at least a break, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 2 hours, maybe a day. I've never found that I've needed to give them more than a day's break, but some days I've found that they just are not ready to do training, and then I just find, and it's usually immediately, you can tell they're not up to training. I don't know if they're not feeling well or what, but they aren't up to training some days, and that's okay. Now, if that's not what it is, and they seem like they're still attentive and they're just maybe not getting it or getting just a little bit frustrated or something, one thing you can do is use that technique that we just discussed, where you stand up, where you turn your back to them, ignore them. But before you even get there, you should be slowly escalating the not positive rewards. I don't want to call them negative like scoldings or reprimands, but I think the best way of describing it is a not positive reward. So typically when I have a Sampson or his brother Attila and they're not obeying or they're being a little bit stubborn, I will first just try to wait it out, give them a little bit. Try to be more stubborn than they are, and I guess that's sort of how I would describe it to people is when you're trying to teach the dogs your boss, it's not so much of reprimanding them or scolding them or anything like that. You don't want to be doing that, but it's more showing them that it's going to be your way and you're not going to give in. So I try to wait it out. And if that doesn't seem to be working and they're just totally ignoring me or they're just not, every time I try to do the trick, they just immediately don't listen, that's when I'll switch to turning my back to them. And when you do it, you simply just stand up, make sure you don't look down at them, look up maybe, and just keep your back towards them. And they might jump up on your back, they might put their paws on your back. Eventually they'll learn, as long as you don't turn around and give them any attention right away, eventually they'll learn that that's not how they do it. And you should wait long enough to where they stop jumping on your back. It might be 30 seconds, it might even be a minute for some stubborn dogs. Usually these dogs would get in a sitting position within about 10 seconds, and I usually count to between 20 and 30 seconds before I'd ever turn around to show them affection. And I always say good boy once they've gotten through that 30 seconds. That's a rough 30 seconds sometimes. They feel like they're being ignored, and they don't like that. Now, if that doesn't even work and they're still being stubborn and just not listening, that's when you need to take a break. Go out, close the door, leave, come back 20 minutes later, come back 2 hours later, come back tomorrow. It's going to depend on how much of your patience is left too. If you're not going to be patient, then it's not a good time for you to be teaching either. So those are sort of the things that I found when these guys were being stubborn that helped a lot. And again, using the door as I illustrate in some of my videos about how to get them to stay and wait when you come into a door or when you go out of a door. Those are good times for teaching them just in general to respect you as their master and their leader. And they will if you stay consistent and don't give in.